I don't give a f.
If you don't think the UFC is exciting, you gotta be a lunatic. Okay, I don't know what you want. You wanna see people get beat with baseball bats? You know what I mean? So everybody starts diving into this thing. Well, it's easy, right? Just throw 3 letters together and buy a cage and put on fights.
Hey fight fans, welcome to our YouTube channel. Hope you are doing well. In today's video, we will be talking about a man who ushered the trend of MMA and was pivotal in changing the landscape of the sport all around the world. He is none other than head honcho of the UFC, Dana White. Ever since White took over the reins of the top position of the UFC, he has been instrumental in making the sport relevant and worth watching through his unabashed, relentless style of promotion. He's also credited for bringing in and making a whole lot of MMA fighters famous through the UFC. The countdown for today will feature the factors that led to Dana's rise to the top and his lifestyle.
Number 6. Making the UFC the leader of the fight game.
Dana White completed his high school graduation at Herman High School in 1987, after which he went to the University of Massachusetts Boston for further education. But White never completed his education and went on to a different path.
I knew I wasn't going to college. I knew that wasn't a reality. I didn't really want to go to college. One of the things that I was very lucky in my life with is I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
Right from a young age, White had a keen interest in boxing and had set up a boxing facility in South Boston for inner city youth. He trained the art of boxing for a while and would do odd jobs as a trainer and referee. During his days in Saudi, he would train kids, but one day he was approached by some of the thugs who worked for notorious gangster Whitey Bulger, who demanded money from him. He tried to avoid the situation, but one day he received a call from them asking him to pay up $2,500. White still recalls that incident, saying $2,500 was like $25,000 at that time, and saw it as a signal to move away from the town. He later moved to Vegas, landing at the spot where he would get his first opportunity in MMA. It is believed that Dana White also refereed a few unofficial fights, until he had gained enough knowledge about the fight game to start his own management, Dana White Enterprises. White used to manage up-and-coming fighters from MMA and extensively managed the likes of Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell early in their respective careers. During this time, White had gained a huge amount of expertise in the fight game and saw huge potential in MMA becoming a force after attending an event. He would then get to know that the UFC at that time was making losses under the Semaphore Group and would look to cash in on the opportunity by contacting his good friend Lorenzo Fertita, who then was the co-owner of Station Casinos along with his brother Frank. After the meeting, both bought into Dana's plans and purchased the UFC for $2 million in 2001. Having bought the promotion, they needed someone capable and trustworthy to spearhead their promotion, which meant Dana White was made the chairman of the UFC. Ever since he became chairman, it has only been upward for the promotion, as he bought in MMA talents of the past and present and gave them a platform to showcase their skills to the world. Another reason for the UFC's popularity is because of White's determination to keep the UFC at the top even after so many years. He transcended the UFC internationally by organizing fight events in the UK, Australia, China, and the Middle East. But before that, he increased the curiosity and excitement behind the fight game by debuting the Ultimate Fighter series on Spike TV. White's idea to give a sneak peek into the life of certain fighters and their camaraderies with the respective teams of young hopefuls who are looking to make it into the UFC turned out to be a masterstroke, as the show is still going strong after 29 seasons. This also allowed the UFC to get their hands on the brightest MMA talents of yesteryear and today, making it a win-win proposition for both the fighters and the promotion. Not to forget the huge TV value and viewership that it garnered, enabling the promotion to hit international markets such as Asia and Europe. All of this could only be possible because of White's leadership and hunger to drive the promotion to the top, and that hunger paid rich dividends going ahead as the UFC signed a 7-year mega broadcasting rights deal with Fox in 2011, which would air UFC events on all Fox platforms.
For the first time in a decade, we welcome a new sport to the Fox Sports family.
Apart from being a great fight promoter, White is extremely adept and smart in his interactions with the media and is not shy to speak his mind whenever he wants to. He is also loyal to a T for his fighters who he believes in and would not hesitate to go to war with anyone if the media or some people portray his fighters in a negative light or feed stories which are untrue. These are some of the things which make Dana White stand out and add to his unique personality. He would then organize major breakthrough events for the UFC with maximum gates and pay-per-view, provided by White, during the press conferences and the interactions with the media that helped to build fights of such magnitude. White made the UFC the #1 MMA promotion through all of these milestones and would later add the cherry to the top of the cake by helping the UFC strike out a 7-year broadcasting rights deal with ESPN worth $1.5 billion, which will allow the UFC to stream their events on all ESPN platforms. He also outlined his desire to continue as chairman of the UFC by signing a 7-year deal in 2018. Apart from making the UFC the global leader of MMA today, White is also seen as the influential figure who made the sport of MMA popular all over the world through the UFC.
Number 5. Salary.
Being the greatest MMA promoter, Dana White makes a solid amount of money by being the chairman of the UFC. He earns $20 million per year and had a controlling stake in the UFC until 2016, where he sold his share of the pie amidst the takeover of the UFC by the Endeavor Group. This meant White's shares stood at $350 million at the time, meaning he would make that much amount of money by way of the sale. In hindsight, all of this was only possible due to White's vision of propelling MMA to what it is today.
Number 4. Sponsorships and wide celebrity circle.
White is sponsored by a few companies. He is sponsored by a few liquor brands, most notably Howlerhead and others. It is believed that he makes $1 million by way of sponsorships. White is also quite famous and enjoys a huge popularity in the celebrity circle. He was invited to the 2016 Exhibition Summit, where he voiced his support for former President Donald Trump.
I wanted to show up and tell you about my friend, Donald Trump, the Donald Trump that I know.
And Trump, too, has also attended several UFC events. White has also made several appearances in Hollywood as well, most notably in the show Silicon Valley. He has also made the UFC a spot for the celebrity attraction, most notably when he invited The Rock at the UFC 244 event in Madison Square Garden, the pre-match presser, and to crown the winner of the inaugural BMF title. Seems like White is quite prominent in a celebrity circle as well.
Number 3. Charitable Nature.
Apart from being a huge personality in the fight game, he is also known to be a person with a huge heart. And that is quite evident with the humanitarian work he indulges himself in. He has lent his support financially to many people and foundations, most notably the $1 million donation he made to the victims of the Las Vegas shooting incident.
What we're going to do is we're going to donate $1 million to the people, the families, and the people who are affected by this.
He also donated $50,000 to the daughter of a Muay Thai instructor for her liver transplant surgery, showing his generous side. Even after being such a famous figure, he has not forgotten his roots. He gave $100,000 for some developmental work on the facilities of his high school in Herman. Now, time for a fun fact.
Fun fact.
Dana's interest in MMA was amplified after he attended one of UFCS's fight events as a spectator. At the end of the event, he was convinced that if managed properly, MMA has a big role to play in sports. And the rest, as they say, is history because of Dana.
Number 2. Cars and jet.
By this time, you might imagine the president of the UFC to have a sick collection of cars. And that's exactly how it is. He owns a lot of cars, and to name a few, he owns the Ferrari Testarossa, which cost around $100,000 to $200,000, a 1971 Plymouth Barracuda, which cost $85,662. He also owns the BMW M6 Grand Coupe, priced at $113,700. And to round it off, he has a Ford Bronco costing around $28,000. Amongst his premium set of cars are the Cadillac Escalade, priced at the range of $75,000 to $85,000, and that's depending on the model and range of it. He also has another Ferrari in the garage, the Ferrari F430 Spider, priced at $217,000. It is also believed he owns a private jet named the Bombardier, which cost a whopping $90 million.
Number 1. Houses.
To finish off Dana White's lifestyle, he owns 3 mansions in Las Vegas, Nevada, and lives with his wife and 3 children, Dana III, Aiden, and Savannah. In the Tournament Hills Enclave, he has a 7,700 square foot property, which cost $1.8 million, a 5,500 square foot property costing $2.4 million, and a 4,500 square foot property costing $2 million. Recently, the UFC expanded its global footprint by buying an island in Abu Dhabi as a venue for their fights and named it Fight Island. It is also rumored that White was looking to buy a condo for himself, but there hasn't been any confirmation of it as of now. Well, that's the definition of a kingpin way of living, isn't it? So finally, after looking at Dana's contribution to the sport of MMA, his UFC legacy, and his lifestyle, his net worth stands at a huge $500 million, making him one of the biggest figures not only in MMA, but in the world of sports. Well, alright, we have come to the end of our video for today, but before leaving, we would like to know, is Dana White the main reason behind the relevance of MMA in today's age? And what are your views on Dana's style of management, leading the UFC to top of the fight game? And what do you think of Dana's big boss lifestyle? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to our channel. See you guys next time.